Good day, everyone. Today, I will be presenting an overview of the Domestic Shipping License, or DSL, which is the legal instrument that governs domestic maritime operations in Malaysia. I will also explain how this framework applies to the Boleh, operated by Oil Tanker Set D. This explanation follows a complete legal flow, beginning from the international level, moving to the national legal framework, and finally reaching the stage of administrative enforcement. Through this flow, we can clearly see how global maritime principles are localized and applied under Malaysian law. At the international level, the foundation of Malaysia's Domestic Shipping License, or DSL, can be understood through the principle of cabotage. Cabotage refers to a country's right to reserve and regulate maritime trade within its own waters. In simple terms, it allows a nation to control who can carry goods, passengers, or provide maritime services between its domestic ports. This principle is closely connected to international maritime law, especially the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, or UNCLOS. Under UNCLOS, coastal states have jurisdiction over their territorial waters and certain sovereign rights within their exclusive economic zone, or EEZ. For Malaysia, this means that the government has the authority to regulate, approve, or restrict shipping activities that take place between Malaysian ports and within Malaysian waters. This international principle is then reflected in Malaysia's cabotage policy. The purpose of the policy is to ensure that domestic shipping is mainly carried out by Malaysian-owned and Malaysian-registered vessels. By doing so, Malaysia protects its national economic interests, supports local shipping companies, creates employment opportunities for Malaysian seafarers, and strengthens the development of the domestic maritime industry. At the national level, the main legislation governing shipping activities in Malaysia is the Merchant Shipping Ordinance 1952, or MSO 1952. This ordinance provides the legal framework for ship registration, licensing, safety, security, environmental protection, and enforcement. It acts as the backbone of Malaysia's maritime regulatory system. One important provision is Section 81 of the MSO 1952. This section requires ship owners to ensure that the latest Malaysian legislation, Malaysia shipping notices, international rules, and maritime safety, security, and environmental publications are readily accessible on board the ship. This is important because the master, ship officers, and the company's designated person ashore must always be able to refer to current legal and safety requirements during normal operations and emergencies. If the ship owner fails to comply with this requirement, it becomes an offense under Section 81(3). Upon conviction, the owner may be fined up to Rm 25,000 for each ship involved. This shows that compliance is not only an administrative requirement, but also a legal duty imposed on ship owners. Within this legal framework, the Domestic Shipping License, or DSL, becomes the main mechanism used to enforce Malaysia's cabotage policy. The DSL system is administered by the Domestic Shipping Licensing Board, known as Lembaga Pelaksanaan Perkapalan Dalam Negeri, or LPPDN, under the Ministry of Transport. Operationally, applications and related processes are handled through the Electronic Domestic Shipping License System, or EDSL. The EDSL system makes the licensing process more structured, transparent, and traceable. Malaysia Shipping Notice 03-2021 explains that the Ministry of Transport has prepared guidelines for DSL applications, including the procedures and conditions that applicants must follow. These guidelines are available through the official EDSL portal, and inquiries may be directed to the LPPDN Secretariat or through the official EDSL email. In practice, the DSL ensures that any vessel involved in domestic shipping has proper authorization before operating. This includes vessels transporting cargo or passengers between Malaysian ports, as well as vessels providing services such as bunkering, offshore support, ship-to-ship operations, and other maritime services within Malaysian waters. The DSL serves two major purposes. First, it allows the government to maintain regulatory oversight over ships operating domestically, especially in relation to safety, security, and environmental protection. Second, it supports Malaysia's cabotage policy by ensuring that domestic shipping continues to contribute to local economic growth and the development of Malaysian maritime capability. For Malaysian registered vessels, the validity of the DSL depends on several criteria, such as Bumiputra participation, the percentage of Malaysian crew, and the age of the vessel. A Malaysian flagged vessel may be granted a DSL for 6 months, 1 year, or up to 2 years, depending on whether it satisfies the required conditions. For foreign registered vessels, the situation is different. A DSL may be granted only when the use of a foreign vessel is justified, especially where no suitable Malaysian flagged vessel is available. Before approval, the application may be advertised through the EDSL system to allow Malaysian ship owners to make an offer if they have a suitable vessel for the same job. If no suitable Malaysian vessel is offered within the 2 working day circulation period, the foreign vessel application may proceed to the next stage. The application then goes through review, verification, endorsement, and approval. If approved, a DSL for a foreign flagged vessel is normally valid for not more than 90 days. To understand the DSL system more clearly, it is also important to look at the cabotage exemption guidelines for Sabah, Sarawak, and the Federal Territory of Labuan. These exemptions were introduced to make certain cargo movements more flexible, especially between Peninsular Malaysia and East Malaysia. Under the exemption, vessels carrying cargo from any port in Peninsular Malaysia to Sabah, Sarawak, or Labuan, and vice versa, do not need to apply for a DSL. The exemption also applies to cargo transportation between ports within Sabah and between ports within Sarawak. This applies to both Malaysian flagged and foreign flagged vessels. However, the exemption is limited only to cargo transportation. It does not apply to passenger vessels, roll-on roll-off vessels, offshore support vessels, bunkering vessels, ship-to-ship operations, or other service provider vessels. For these activities, a DSL is still required if the vessel is engaged in domestic shipping. The exemption also does not cover every route. For example, a vessel operating between 2 ports within Peninsular Malaysia still requires a DSL. Similarly, cargo movement between Sabah and Sarawak, Sabah and Labuan, or Sarawak and Labuan is not covered by the exemption. In those cases, the vessel must apply for a DSL before operating. In terms of enforcement, the legal authority for the DSL regime comes from Part 2A of the MSO 1952. Section 68T states that no ship shall engage in domestic shipping without a valid license. This means that a vessel cannot simply operate between Malaysian ports or provide domestic maritime services without first obtaining approval. If the owner or master operates a ship without a DSL, it becomes an offense under Section 68T2. Upon conviction, the owner or master may be fined up to 100,000, imprisoned for up to 2 years, or both. This penalty shows that the DSL is not just a procedural document, but a legally enforceable requirement. The enforcement power is further strengthened by the authority of the Director of Marine and authorized officers. They may inspect ships, require documents, verify compliance, and take action if there is a suspected breach of the DSL requirements. A license may also be revoked if the licensee breaches the law or fails to comply with the conditions of the license. Overall, the domestic shipping license is an important bridge between international maritime principles and Malaysia's national shipping policy. International law gives Malaysia the right to regulate its waters. The MSO 1952 provides the legal foundation, and the DSL system applies that law in practice. Through this system, Malaysia is able to control domestic shipping, protect local maritime interests, and ensure that vessels operating in Malaysian waters comply with safety, security, and environmental standards. Applying these legal requirements to our case, Boleh is a Malaysian flag oil tanker with Penang as her port of registry. The vessel has a gross tonnage of 28,927 and a net tonnage of 8,700, with 35 crew members including the captain. Therefore, Boleh falls under the jurisdiction of the Merchant Shipping Ordinance 1952 and the Domestic Shipping License Framework. For this explanation, we assume that Boleh is engaged in an international voyage. If the vessel sails from a Malaysian port to a foreign port, or from a foreign port to Malaysia, the voyage is not considered purely domestic shipping. In that situation, a DSL is not normally required for the international leg itself. However, the important point is the actual route and operation of the vessel. If Boleh carries oil between 2 Malaysian ports, such as Penang to Port Klang, or performs tanker-related services within Malaysian waters or the exclusive economic zone, Then it becomes domestic shipping. Under Section 68T of the MSO 1952, no ship may engage in domestic shipping without a valid license. Since Bole is far above the 15 net tonnage exemption, it cannot rely on the small vessel exemption. The cabotage exemption may also be relevant, but only for specific approved cargo routes involving Peninsular Malaysia, Sabah, Sarawak, and Labuan. If the route is not covered by the exemption, Bole must obtain a valid DSL before operating domestically. In summary, the rule is straightforward. If Bole operates only on an international voyage, the DSL is not required for that international leg. But if it performs any domestic cargo movement or maritime service within Malaysia, a valid DSL is required unless a recognized exemption applies. Therefore, Oil Tanker Semachdam must ensure that the vessel's route, documents, and onboard legal references comply with the MSO 1952, MSN 03-2021, and the relevant cabotage exemption guidelines. Thank you for watching. See you soon.